And welcome everyone to episode 3 of Overly Opinionated. We all get together and share our very honest opinions. Everybody say, hey, Lucy, you back again. We got Joey.
What's up?
My guy D-Man. And Kendra. Miss Sessions, if you're nasty. And of course, you got me, James. And everybody, welcome to the third episode. Like, share, subscribe, comment to the video on YouTube. We really appreciate that. It's greatly needed. Just small few seconds helps us a lot, so we appreciate that. And today, we are going into what we like to talk about everywhere I see, and it's a word that I really felt like should have stayed in 2021, but we done brought it into 2023, which is accountability.
Dun, 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 dun.
So, first of all, we're going to give the actual definition of accountability because I feel like words don't mean the same to people no more. Everybody has their own definition. So the definition of accountability is the obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's actions. It's as simple as that. There are 4 steps to accountability. First step is define the behavior or outcome that is needed. Second step is communicate. Where you communicate, this is if your accountability involves other people. But if it's just you, then that part, you just communicate with yourself. You assess, and then you follow through. These are the steps of accountability. So just apologizing without actions or nothing, that really is not accountability. It's really just a dry apology. So now we have the actual definition. Let's see if we can get what we interpret as accountability. So, Joey, what would you consider to be accountability?
So, accountability for me is really, it's like the ownership of your consequences of your actions. I feel like a lot of times we have people that like to throw that word out there and they don't actually, admit to or own up to the thing that they actually, caused. It's easy to say, oh, I took accountability. Okay, what did you do? What are you being held accountable for? What's the thing that you're actually being held to be accountable for? And I don't feel like often enough that actually gets addressed. It's just like I hold myself accountable. I said I'm sorry, I did this, and that's what it is. But I feel like there needs to be more of an emphasis on the causation or the causality in the accountability, along with a more definition on the result. Like, what exactly is the punishment? How did you actually, rectify the situation? We like to talk about the in between, but oftentimes not the beginning catalyst and the end to resolve the issue. So that's my view on accountability.
Okay. Now you said 2 words in there that I'm gonna come back to when I give mine, which was consequence and punishment. Those are tough words that people don't like to hear, especially when it comes to accountability, but they are actually needed in the process. So, Lucy, what you got? What do you think when you think accountability?
I am definitely riding with the OG definition of accountability. I don't mind saying I'm sorry for something, but I think nowadays it's like, because I apologized, I took accountability. And the word of the definition that really stuck out to me was define. Define what you did. What did you do? Because just saying I'm sorry doesn't let me know that you understood that what you did was wrong. So, I think that when people don't define what they did and they just apologize and say they took accountability, they don't really feel any remorse from that. And it's not always saying that you're going to feel remorse, but there's an understanding that comes into play when you say you took accountability. Like, for example, I watched Love is Blind and season 4 on Netflix, and I one of the girls, Jackie, did something really messed up to the guy, Marshall. And so I think the whole world is on Marshall's side, but I went and read what Jackie wrote. And I mean, she's 26 years old. And so she put accountability in her long ass thesis of a message or caption. And I just was like, damn, she likes the word accountability. But I don't know if she actually feels any type of way or really understands that her actions were wrong. Like just tossing around the word accountability doesn't mean you're holding yourself accountable.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay, and you also had something in there that I want to speak on. So, Kendra, what about you?
It's pretty much the same thing. I think Lucy made a good thing. That's my dog in the background. I'm sorry. When it comes to apologizing, there was like this meme, like how Sagittarius apologize, how Gemini's apologize. It's like, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Okay, but when you say that you're sorry for hurting my feelings, that's very much a blanket statement. Okay. Or I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. Like that still doesn't, it may help you sleep better at night, but you're not acknowledging what it was. So to me, it's like man or woman up for the words you said, the actions, the deeds that you did. And then how do you plan on going about changing your actions so the hurt that you caused person A to feel, you don't cause person B, C, D, E, and F to feel in the future. To me, that shows accountability. Whether I'm in your life anymore, I want to know that it doesn't happen in the future. And that kind of goes for any part of your life, whether it's a family, a love interest, work related, school related, whatever. And then also on the flip side, you can also have like an accountability partner, because some people have those when it comes to like, oh, I want to eat better, I want to work out more. You kind of have an accountability partner. So, but I do think the word accountability gets thrown around. And I think it's one of those words that people, as they get older, they feel like, oh, well, I'm going to hold myself accountable, or I'm being held accountable. No, you apologize. That's what you did. And while I thank you for the apology, it still didn't, like, it helps you sleep at night. But until you are ready to 100% own up to what you're apologizing for, it's not really holding yourself accountable. But if the shoe was on the other foot and I said, James, I'm sorry for what happened, and I just walked off, James is probably like, well, what is she sorry for? Like, Kendra, what exactly did you do? Now you're going to expect my apology to be more in depth because you want to make sure I understand your hurt and your pain, or how my actions affected you or your family or the outcome. So I think no one takes the word accountability seriously until it has been personally done to them, and they expect that person who has hurt them to be accountable. That's when they expect it to be taken seriously. That's how I view it.
Gotcha. Now we finna get the OG definition for accountability. D-Man, what you got?
Well, I mean, I think everyone covered a lot of what's needed to be said, but if I was to talk about accountability, some things that I would be careful about is this expectation that there's going to be punishment or some kind of consequence because of a person's actions. Because I think that, we got to be careful to not weaponize the word or the expectation. And what I mean by that is if someone is being accountable, quote unquote, they're apologizing, and maybe they say, they'll acknowledge what the issue is. The person on the receiving end, can overdo their expectation about, well, I need this and I need that in order for us to be squared up. And sometimes I'm like, it can be too much. And I know you can say, well, isn't it up to the person, you know, but it is up to a person to an extent, but we all know that some people can be vindictive, you know, and overplay their cards. So I think that part of it has to be addressed, you know, like the expectation of what is accountable. The other thing is, you're not always going to see the results of a person's actions for being accountable immediately. There are times when somebody can apologize about something, but in order to see the action, it's actually going to take time, because it's like it really needs to. It's something where over time you need to see if they're going to continue their actions, right? So a situation comes up, they did something wrong, it hurt you, it bothered you. They come to, they apologize. Now you have to wait to see if when that situation comes up again, are they going to act the same, or they're really going to be accountable? So you're not always going to see the action immediately. So you kind of got to be good with the words. And that's what I mean about weaponizing. Like, the person who's receiving the apology has to be willing to be forgivable, like be willing to give forgiveness. So it's not just the action of the person saying I'm accountable, but you have to take part in being forgiving. So that's where I'm gonna start with this.
Okay. So for me, I'll start with the point that I wanted to point out from what Lucy said, about apologizing. If there's an apology with no correctiveness, action, or the behavior, then it seems patronizing. It's disingenuous. If you're just gonna do the same thing, if I punch Joey in the face Monday and say I'm sorry, and then I wake up Tuesday and punch Joey in the face, that sorry that I gave yesterday was patronizing and disingenuous, because I didn't mean it and I was planning on doing it again. So that was what I want, what Lucy said. So what Joey was meaning when, and I'm taking for what I thought he meant, and that's what I meant when I say a consequence. A consequence doesn't have to be like a punishment like what we think of it. People a lot of times don't want to face something they've done. So to me, I feel like if there has to be a consequence of your action, which means if nothing else, you have to face the person that you did whatever to. And that's as far as like the consequence for me. Just you can't just duck it. You gotta face it. That's a consequence, because that's tough for a lot of people. And that's why a lot of people aren't accountable, because being accountable says I was wrong. And most time people really don't want to admit that. Mm-hmm. So for me, what I view as accountability is owning up to your choices that you make, because to me, everything in life is a choice. So if you make a choice, you stand on your choice and you take whatever consequences that come with it, and you take responsibility for those consequences. You don't get to, divide the responsibility or whatever comes with it between other people. You did it, you own up to it, you take accountability. And the same thing is what D-Man was saying, the weaponizing part. I agree with that, because I do feel like that's what the word has become. Like, it's one of those new social media trigger words. That's what it's become. Like, you throw it out there and it instantly will create friction, because it kind of does, because it forces somebody to own up to something that people really don't, especially where the society we living in now. So that's the weaponizing part, when we're now just throwing it out there at any point just to kind of corner a person in an argument.
That's why like I've purposely done in my life. You know how they say, be the change you want to see in the world? I make sure I move the right way, or I always try my best to. That means when it comes to meeting new people, how I'm acting at work, how I act with my friends, how I carry myself on interacting with the cops, on an airplane, anywhere, doing anything. I always try to make sure I move the right way so that I don't have to apologize.
Right.
And I don't have to be like, damn, I got to realize my wrongdoings, because most of the time I've already thought about the situation. I already know how I'm going to behave. Or most of the time I have played out the situation in my head 22 times. But a lot of times it's about who you are as a person at your core. How are you
Mhm.
moving in the world? How are you moving in your relationship? How are you moving at church? How are you moving in life? You know, because if you keep fucking up, there are a lot of things you're gonna have to apologize for, and hopefully know what you did, understand what you did, and understand why that shit was wrong. So I don't want to be in that position where I have to be wrong. I don't want to be in that position where I have to say I'm sorry. I will. And I know if I have to apologize to somebody, that shit I have to, because I typically don't put myself in that position to have to apologize anyways.
Right. So let me ask you guys a question. James, you can answer it directly or anybody else on here. So dang. So back with the accountability, you were saying, James, that you feel that a lot of people don't apologize or take accountability because they don't want to go through the possible hurt, pain, how uncomfortable it is
That the
to do it.
uncomfortable.
Right. But do you think that a part of the reason why people are uncomfortable with it is not just the ownership of it? I do think that that's part of it. Admitting that you're wrong can be uncomfortable. People don't want to do it. But can it also be because of experiences in the past where you tried to take accountability, you said sorry, and again, as we mentioned, the person on the receiving end weaponizes that, and their reaction to your taking responsibility is like over the top, like they like I said, want to dig into you because it's like, I got you on the hook now, like it's like the saying sorry is not enough for them,
Yeah.
and they want more and more and more. And so sometimes people are like, man, I don't want to apologize or be accountable because they're gonna blow it up. So I'm thinking that sometimes it's our prior experiences that causes us to also be uncomfortable with the idea of being accountable.
So
what do y'all
with
think?
with that, accountability and responsibility and being honest, those are uncomfortable situations, hands down. Like, you can't avoid them. If you're gonna be a good person, those are you just gonna put yourself in those situations.
Mhm.
When it comes to that, I agree that may be the reason why someone wouldn't want to apologize. But I look at it like this: if I do something to you, D-Man, and I apologize to you, all I can do, is control that. I'm gonna own up to it, be accountable for it, and give a changed behavior. I can't dictate how you take my apology.
Mhm.
So how you take it, and this may sound again assholish, but how you take it matters none to me. If I know it was genuine and I'm going to change my behavior, because I can't control how you take it. So I'm not going to let that dictate, well, this person didn't take it well, so now I don't really feel like I want to do it now because that last person didn't take it well. I'm going to still do the right thing. And if I apologize to 7 people and all 7 of them take it bad and blow up on me, I'm cool with that. I'm still apologize to the 8th, because I can't control, how someone reacts to something.
Mm-hmm.
And how they take something. All I can do is I did my part, and I'm going to do my part to, like I say, change behavior. So I don't want to apologize to 7 people for the same thing.
Okay. I think
I have a
Session, you want to
question.
say something? Go ahead.
I have a question. I think this may also be an issue. People get an apology confused with being accountable.
Very much so.
To me, I view, let's say me and Lucy are besties. I do something that just really hurts her feeling. I'm going to apologize for hurting her feeling. Now, it's up to me to be accountable to make sure I never, ever hurt my best friend again, which means my behavior that hurt her feelings has to change. That's
Correct.
where the accountability comes in. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, even in society, we say we want you to take accountability. But in some instances, we really just want you to apologize.
Yeah.
And we want you to acknowledge the hurt, the pain, and the shame that you caused.
Mm-hmm.
The accountability comes when we want to see change. Like, to me, accountability is the change that we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
The apology is what is the band-aid. when we take that Band-Aid off, that's where that accountability, that scar shouldn't be there anymore. If that makes sense. That may be a really bad painted picture.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like some people, I mean, get those two words intertwined.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I hurt somebody, if I cause hurt and pain, I'm going to apologize for hurting you, for causing that pain. My behavior is going to be me holding myself accountable so that I can either mend the friendship, earn the trust back, or make sure I don't do that to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of the times, like if I cheat on my diet, I expect Lucy to be like, Kendra, I don't ever want to see you eat a 12-piece of wings ever again. Don't call me and be like, girl, I just put on 15 pounds. Like, that's holding me accountable to, remember you said you want to fit in that dress? 12 wings is not going to hit it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but, and so I think people just get apology and accountability. And it's like, at this point, it's like, what do you want? Do you want me to change or do you want me to apologize? If I apologize, are you going to be okay if I don't change? Because if I cheat on you, yeah, so it's like, if I cheat on you and I'm saying I'm sorry, are we cool? And it's okay if I cheat on you tomorrow. Or if I cheat on you and you still want me to change that cheating behavior. So I think that's kind of like that gray area that everyone needs to kind of understand. There is a clear difference between those two words. And we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we want? Do we want an apology and accountability, or do we want two separate things?
So my grandma always told me that in any situation like that, the apology is for you. The change behavior is for me. So the apology is me acknowledging that I did something wrong to you and apologizing for it. My change behavior is not for you because I may not never deal with you again.
Exactly.
You know, you may be just some stranger that I did something to. The change behavior is for me to be a better person. So that was like something I was taught growing up as a kid. Like, you apologize for something, that's for the person that you did it to.
That's what
the apology is not for you.
That's what I was thinking when Session was talking. Accountability is about self.
Yeah.
Right.
That change behavior is for me. Like, I need to do something to change to make sure I'm not out here, you know, being a bad person. But the apology is for you.
But I don't think everybody understands that. I think some people are going to have this accountability meter or this accountability, like, I'm going to hold you accountable. Well, for what? Like, holding me accountable for my actions is not for you to decide.
And also, we got to know,
I don't want to change. I don't have to change.
But accountability also doesn't necessarily involve someone else. You could be accountable for something that you did yourself.
Yeah.
Like you could be a fat ass like Wah and decide, okay, if I want to live a better life for my kids to, you know, to be around to see my kids grow, I need to be more accountable on what I eat. So therefore I can have a better outcome and live a longer life for my kids. Accountability isn't always you doing something wrong to someone else. Sometimes it's just simply an action you take to correct something that is problematic. Does that have to involve someone else? Not necessarily. But to the point that I think James was making, it's one of these terms that has been bastardized online to the point that, like, it becomes like, oh, accountability, accountability, accountability. But people say it because it makes them feel a certain way. It's a weird dynamic that we have nowadays. For instance, I gotta hold you accountable for your fuck up. Why do you have to hold me accountable? That is something I chose to do that had a negative consequence. Maybe it was an unintended consequence. Maybe I didn't mean to do it. Maybe it's just by proxy an action I did affected someone else. But it's not necessarily up to you to hold me accountable. You holding me accountable does not address the problem that I had in causing that. I have to make the internal decision that me being accountable means me changing my behavior or me changing the situation should it come up again in life so that it doesn't repeat itself.
Amen.
Correct. And also, like with what Joey was saying, being accountable for yourself. And I do feel like, again, like he said, it's a trigger word now. And someone having a difference of opinion than you or something like that, that's nothing, that, and I see that's mostly when it's used for. Someone, I said this, you said that, and I don't agree with you. So now we discussing, well, you got to be accountable for this. And it kind of really don't even go there. Like, the term is used so much that people just misuse it now. Like, it's not even in the proper context anymore.
Like, people don't want an apology. They just want you to be accountable.
Yeah. So,
and like when we were growing up, it was, Kendra, you need to apologize for pulling the mattress from up under the girl while she was trying to do a backflip. And she broke her arm. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pull the mattress and you broke your arm. I'm sorry. My mom wasn't about hold yourself accountable. No, it was apologize. Say you're sorry. Say why you're sorry. Now, nobody wants an apology. Everyone wants you to be held accountable. Like,
as if there's some standard of punishment for
right. Right.
That's because it's for power. It's that word.
It's a power play.
Right.
It's literally for power. How can I get? Yes, I need you to be accountable. It's like your apology ain't good enough. You got to be accountable because now I can dominate you in a way that I didn't have at first. At first, you got over on me, so now I got accountability. I got to put that on you now. So I now have the power. Now I can dictate. It's like a defensive mechanism more so than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people use it in debate as well. Like when you done ran out of points to make, they just throw that word. It's one of them trigger words. Just, damn, I ain't got nothing else to say. I ain't got nothing else to say. I can't prove no more points. Accountable.
That's what I was saying from the beginning. Like, it could be sometimes people are not wanting to, quote unquote, be accountable or quote unquote apologize because the receiver on the other end is weaponizing the idea of making you accountable. So, just like Joey said, it's a defensive mechanism, it's a way to strong arm a person, and to, inflict pain on them because they were bothered by whatever the other person did. Or if it's social media, they're trying to control the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not comfortable with the fact that you came back at them and didn't agree with what they were saying. So now they want to take control of the conversation and say, well, men need to be more accountable. Women need to be more accountable. All this corniness is like, what? That had nothing to do with the conversation. But
it's like it's the big joker.
Yeah.
Of online debates. It's like when you ain't got nothing else, you pull out the big joker.
Yeah.
And it's a few of them. It's accountability and, it's a couple of trigger words that, people throw out there when the conversation ain't got too heated and they ain't really got nothing else to add to it. And, big joker, accountability.
One thing is, life nowadays, and if I had a kid, I would teach my kid too, what is going on with people not wanting to check themselves? Like, I get that they don't want to do it. That's just a thing. But why not?
I'm glad we're getting into that because
What do you mean by check themselves?
Like, one thing I've done for many, many years is to look at both sides of the situation. It would benefit me and make me feel better if I just looked at the situation from my side. But no, I most of the time, and even if I don't right away, I'm going to come back later on and look at it from that other person's point of view. It's a blessing and a curse because I can't seem to help caring about how other people feel. So I'm going to sit down to myself and be like, damn, like, yeah, I was wrong for that. And maybe I need to talk to this person. Maybe they didn't say anything, but I could see how they possibly, I could see the look on their face. So I'm gonna go let them know that I didn't mean it that way. I be checking myself constantly. And I kind of love that about myself because it makes me feel like I'm a good person.
Right.
But like, I see that a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? You think about it. How many times have you had to talk to somebody about something wrong they did and they did not want to see what they did? Mm-hmm. And I wish that people were more that way. And
so let me ask you, Lucy, do you think and I only ask this maybe because it's also in the field that I work in. So let's go like the social media route. Everybody is so combative on TV, that it's kind of become the societal norm to argue with getting your point across. I consider myself a nice person. Can I be mean? Yes, but it hurts me to my core to be a mean person. Now, I am a very sarcastic person. I will say that. I'm a very, very sarcastic person. But if I've ever, like, if I'm in my practice and I feel like I've said something mean, I can't sleep at night. If I feel like I've said something mean, or even like there are times when my mom and I, you know, she may have hung up in my face, and at night I'm tossing and turning like, Lord, that's my mama. Like maybe I was a little short, but then I'd be like, but she hung up in my face. But that next day I'm calling her in the morning and I'm like, hey, how are you? And we may not address the situation, but that's my mama. Same thing with my brother, my best friend, anybody in my life. Because I'm the type of person, I don't ever want you to think I said something and I meant it a certain way. But there are some people that, like you said, no matter what you say or how you say it is, and you're just like, that's, and I just, sometimes I sit back and I'm just thinking like, do y'all just live y'all's life in this basketball wives, love and hip hop mentality to where all you want, where all you know is to be combative?
So,
where a simple conversation is just, hey, look, Joey, look, when I said the other day, I don't know how you took it, but last night it was on my mind, and I can totally see if you took it this way, that is not how I meant it.
Mm-hmm.
And then me and Joey are cool. He's like, you know what, Kendra, I thought about it, but then I realized, you know what, as sarcastic as you are, that's not how you meant it. And then we're done. Then you
So
get some people that can be like, well, you know what, and da da da. You're just like, so I kind of have to ask myself, do we think it's because the times that we're living in now, where it's cool to be combative?
so wait, go ahead, D-Man.
So what I've heard expressed from Session and from Lucy is what is coined emotional intelligence or emotional maturity. Emotional intelligence is knowing and understanding how your emotions influences your actions, and maturity is recognizing when you are in your feelings, what feelings you're in, and how to deal with them. And in both cases, what I heard from Lucy and Kendra explain or express is the idea of being emotional mature, um, and saying, okay, like in Lucy's example, she's saying, hey, when I address the situation, I look at something, I don't just look at it from my feelings. I try to think about how someone else would feel about my actions. That is being mature. That is, saying, okay, I can't just be in my feelings. It can't just be about me and how I think about something. I have to recognize how it impacts other people and how they may feel about it, and then deal with it accordingly. So that to me is a big expression of what social media is causing a lack of. Is like everybody wants to, um, you know, their whole thing is like, I'm gonna attack everybody else, and I want everybody else to be concerned with how I feel. I don't want to think about how somebody else feel. I only want to express things in a way, and I only want to deal with things in a way that make me feel good. And that's what social media is. That's why they got the big old thumb on there. It's always about liking something. They don't want nobody to dislike. They want everybody to like. And as long as you like what I'm doing and saying and thinking and feeling, whatever, and expressing, we good. If you're not, I'm canceling you.
Right.
And so that's, what we have, this big old lack of emotional intelligence and maturity and a whole bunch of cancel culture.
It's
So-
the need to be right.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
basically.
I think what it is a lot of times in society, we're all told from a perspective that what we think, only what we say matters, and you should be able to do whatever, blah blah blah. Well, that has a negative perverse effect in communication, because now you only care about what you think or what you say, and the other person's perspective and point of view is diametrically opposed to you, and you don't care what it is.
Right.
I'm the one that's wrong. I feel this way. My feelings should matter before everything else. You should be breaking your back to fix the situation with me. Yada da da da. Power play, superiority complex. That's what it is. Instead, what it should be, as they articulated, it should be more of a, okay, let me hear your position. Let me express my position, and let's come to a resolution. Because ultimately, the entire point of this is for us to communicate healthily and resolve this issue. You know what I'm saying? We don't want something small to grow into something bigger, or to destroy something we've spent time investing in, friendship, relationship, marriage, whatever. But it's become a lot of, it's better for me to just force my opinion on someone else and not care what they say, because if they have a rebuttal or a different point of view, that means they don't care about me and my feelings, and that just means I have to overtalk them and get louder, because I have to show them that I ain't no punk, I ain't no fool, and this is what
Exactly.
you've done to me. So I think that's more of what it is, and I see that a lot in a lot of these groups. I see this a lot online, social media. Sometimes it's something that could be taken out of context. Instead of being like, okay, hey, what did you mean by this statement? Instead, you just, oh, well, you just this, and you this kind of person, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, yo, where did all this come from over this statement? I didn't even mean
So,
it the way that you're interpreting it.
Joey, what you're talking about is making me think about a situation that I was faced with a week or so ago. So at work, we decided to have like a spring fling to create a little bit of culture and get everybody together. And so at this spring fling, we sat down, we were like eating and getting ready to play some games and stuff. And so I had mentioned that I don't have a life, meaning I don't do a lot of things socially. And one of my coworkers, who I'm not cool with like that, we speak to each other, we're cordial, but we're not besties or anything. So he was like, T, are you a mom? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, get a life then. And everybody just started chuckling. Like, this was so funny. And
Wait, stop. What is the difference between a chuckle and a laugh? I'd always wanted to ask somebody that.
A chuckle is more
you'll be
discreet.
chuckling when you be moving your shoulders like that, but you don't have no sound coming out.
Okay,
A chuckle is discreet, man.
Okay.
A laugh is a lot more.
Yeah, Chuckle's like.
Well,
okay.
I ain't gonna. Okay, well, let me tell you, they wasn't chuckling. If we gonna define what a chuckle is, they wasn't chuckling. They were hard down laughing. So I didn't say anything to him because what he said was very triggering for me. Nobody else knows why I was triggered, but I was triggered because of what I've gone through with my body and my health issues and why I cannot do certain things. He has no idea about this, but that situation bothered me for days. And I'm the type of person where I'll let people say something to me that's hurtful, but I'll never say anything back. And I'm like, at this big age, we got to stop doing that. Because if I can know to have respect for other people, you can learn to have respect for me. If I can learn to care about other people, you too. So I didn't see him at work, but I was thinking about what I was going to say to him. I'm a rehearser. So I was like, after I ate my lunch, I think it was a Thursday, I was like, Nick, can I talk to you for a minute? And
was you in the mirror like 8 Mile?
No, I rehearsed in my mind.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, can I talk to you for a minute? And he was like, yeah, what's up? And I said, do you remember what you said at the spring fling, about me not being a mom and getting a life? And he was like, yeah. I said, that was triggering. That was triggering. And I talked to him very nicely, I know how to code switch. And I was like, that was very triggering for me. And you don't know why, you nor anyone else. I said, but I've had a lot of issues with my body, and there's reasons why I cannot go or I cannot do certain things. And I wanted you to know that because you don't know how you made me feel. And I said, I didn't respond to you. I didn't say anything to you in that moment because I typically don't surround myself with people who speak loosely about what I've gone through or know what I'm going through and know the reasons why. So because you weren't aware, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I don't think that was okay and that that was triggering for me. But now that you know, now that you are aware, I really don't want something like that to happen again. And he was like, he said, yeah, I'm sorry. I realized after I said it that I put my foot in my mouth and was like, maybe I went too far. Because I'm the type of person, I can't hide my facial expressions. So being that he was sitting 2 people over from me, he got a direct look into my face. And I know my face, because I didn't laugh, I didn't chuckle, I didn't hardy har about it because I didn't think the shit was funny. So my face probably said it all. He didn't apologize in that moment because maybe he didn't think it was, but no, it was. I was mad about it. And I wanted him to know what he did. Now he apologized. And because we ain't cool and we don't really talk like that, it probably won't happen again.
So let me ask you a question, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to ask this and it not sound bad. So I'm just saying it. So at what point, and I think this goes to what I was like, the heightened level of sensitivity in the world we live in now, you're in a public function, someone says something indirectly, like, so they don't know your issue, so they're just talking, and you gotta understand that a lot of people are socially awkward, and based on being social media, the more prevalent social media becomes, the less people's social skills are deteriorating because people aren't socializing. So people being in a work environment, you were probably dealing with someone that's oblivious to, because he said it as a joke. And I understand, I understand how you felt and I understand why you felt that way. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, have we gotten to this point where someone saying something and not knowing our personal, and I think that's what it is. We want people to know and understand our personal story. So he didn't know this about you. Mm-hmm. He made a joke without that knowledge. Mm-hmm. And you felt the way, and again, I'm not saying that how you felt was wrong, because if it made you feel a way, then it did. But so I wouldn't have expected anything from that person because they don't know me, so they don't know what I'd have been through. So I'm never gonna put that weight on someone of you should have known. But mm-hmm. B, not just that, it from a person, like I say, that doesn't deal with me in regular life, stuff that a person saying like that, it doesn't bother me at all, because I know they're not, if I've told you something and you get in a group of people and you, Jane, you remember you told me you used to pee on yourself? That's a different, because now if we around a group of people that don't know me, I ain't never told them, and somebody just be like, you look like you pee on yourself. They don't know that I do.
Okay, so what's your question for me?
What my question is, why did that trigger you?
I guess it triggered me because I am in these situations like day in and day out, where I struggle with options. And that's what I thought about. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, Lou, can you do this? Absolutely not. Or, hey, we're going here. Can you go? I can't. Not going to be able to make it. And him saying, yo, just get a life. Like, it's so easy for me to do these things. It's not. So that's why it was triggering for me. Now, why I said something to him is because I got to work with his ass every day, and I don't want to look at him. And I'm also a lead at my job. So this means I don't want to have an attitude with you because I have to communicate with you. Now, if I was just regular old therapist and I was moving around, I could move around, you know what I'm saying? And never say anything to him. But as a lead therapist, I have to communicate with him. I have to. And it will make me not want to talk to him because of the person I am. It will make me not want to talk to him because he made me mad. So in order to fix this and make myself feel a little bit better, give me a little peace of mind and ease, I'm going to let him know that this is the situation. And a lot of times it's very obvious what I'm experiencing at work because everybody can see it. Clients, my coworkers, management, everybody can see what I'm going through because I cannot hide it. So I'm pretty sure he's seen it one day, but he's trying to make it funny. And I needed to let him know, and I needed him to realize that this is what happened. This is how I felt. And he apologized. So I was like, all right, now I feel better. Now we can maneuver around this space together. And now I feel good. He apologized. He's good. Now he knows, don't do that again because we're not on that level. We're not.
So I think I see where James is going, and I also understand what Lucy's trying to say. And what I get out of this is there are different ways to handle things based on the situation, right? If it's something where something is personally, bothering you, like I guess for me, Lucy again displayed emotion intelligence because instead of reacting, because here's the thing to me, James, if she had reacted in the public space and came at him, then showing anger, and fussing and rocking her neck and doing all of that, that to me would be okay. That's what we don't want to see. That
because
would be
the neck could have rocked. The neck could have rocked.
It could. But instead, she's like, I'm gonna talk to him later and just have a private one-on-one. To me, that's exactly how that should be handled. I get what you're saying though, James, where you're saying, you think sometimes people get overly sensitive about stuff when it's just a joke. And for me, again, if they feel some type of way about it, the proper way to handle is the way Lucy did. Not react, publicly, because again, not everybody knows everybody. People are going to say jokes because that's how people are. We don't know.
Okay. Let me say this,
D-Man.
We've discussed that accountability is about self, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if I never said anything to him and he came back the next week? Oh, people talking about, oh, we're going to hang out. And he might make a funny again and might say, well, T can't go because she doesn't have a wife or T's not going to be able to go. That's what I don't want to happen again.
Right.
And I want us, and if we're in this situation socially, we have another gathering at work, I don't want him to think that that's okay to do again because I am going to get triggered again. I have to work with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if that's an instance where somebody says something to me and it triggers me and I'll never see them again, I'm going to carry that hurt home until I get over it. But I carried this until I talked to him and then I felt better. But I mean, yeah, the world is very, very sensitive about certain things. And one thing I'm very sensitive about is my health issue. Don't go there because then I'm going to want to fight. So let's talk about it one-on-one and then I did what made me feel better.
So for that, it's a tug of war in me right now with what you're saying, because the me in me that love me some Lucy, I feel what you're saying. I feel, I get that. But the guy in me is like, why would that bother you? So that's why I think that's why I was having to ask, because
maybe if you had like
James,
extreme.
yeah, I was gonna say, James, I want you to be honest. Be honest. Are you telling me there is nothing anyone could ever say in a public space, and this is from someone that doesn't know you, that would not bother you or make you uncomfortable because of what they said?
Not enough for me to ever say anything to him, to be honest, because if I haven't told you and you don't know, I can't expect, I expect when I'm in a public space for everybody in there to just be them. That's the only expectation I have. If I'm around 20 people, I just expect you to be you.
Now let's make this a co-employee,
Mm-hmm.
And that may say something similar again in another situation. Let's say they said it 2 or 3 times in 3 different situations. Something of the similar kind of joke, because it went over well the last time, so they continue it because you've never confronted them on it, so they just keep.
So with that, if I feel strong enough about it to where I know it's something that would trigger me, I would probably make it public, because if it's said inadvertently, I'm gonna make it public because I'm gonna say something to somebody about it, even if it's just one person. I've initiated it. So if it's something that I feel like, okay, this probably would come up and this would make me feel a way, and I know it would, then I would probably, hey, just so y'all know, this is blah, blah, blah. So this makes me feel XYZ. So now they have the knowledge, because I can't expect someone to apologize to me for something they didn't know.
Right. And so I don't think Lucy was expecting an apology.
No, not in her situation. I know what she was saying.
Okay.
She just wanted him to know. So, hey, this don't, that bothered me. Don't do that no more. And then we ain't got to, it ain't got to be bothered no more. And we good. So I understood what she was saying. I was saying for me, I would, if it was something that I knew that would trigger me, and I think that's also because I know myself, and I probably don't have the same self-restraint and control Lucy got. So I have to be overly careful with stuff like that.
Right. And it's, sometimes it's not really about self-constraint, but it's about personalities and levels of sensitivity. Like you are probably a person that's just comfortable with putting stuff out there publicly, and your demeanor, your inner self is okay with that being a public thing, and saying something publicly. Like what if
I am
right? And so, but in Lucy's case, she's a different person. So rather than addressing it publicly, she would rather address the person one-on-one. So I think the result is the same based on the person, but it's about handling that in a way that's respectful and mature. It doesn't mean that she's being overly sensitive. It's that her way to handle it is to go private. Whereas your way, you're like, I'll address this right now. Either way is being addressed.
Yeah, because I know me, if it's something that would make me feel a way, then it's probably serious enough that it's gonna make me feel a way instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So then what Lucy did would have probably worked best, but I ain't gonna lie, I probably wouldn't have went that route, because I'd have flipped out and flipped the table right there. So that's why I say, for me, if it's something like when I work somewhere, I let people know I don't crack jokes about my children, I don't talk about my children, and I prefer you not to talk about my children. And I let that be known. So therefore, because now if you do it, you have that knowledge. Mm-hmm. So when I flip the table, you're not looking at me crazy. Yeah, you're not looking at me crazy because you knew. Mm-hmm. But I know that's something that's a trigger for me, is my children. So therefore, I let that, because you work with people, and again, people are socially awkward. We don't say it a lot, but it's a lot of socially awkward people. They really, to be honest, I've been around people that have said some shit, and when you actually talk to them, they don't remember it, and they probably say so much, put their foot in their mouth so many times in a day, they don't even remember it, don't recall it, because it wasn't. Yeah, that's it. Just right then I was in that space. I said it, I didn't even think. And the reason I sympathize with that person is because I am that person. I have what my grandma called a free mouth. I don't think when I talk, and I say stuff, and that's probably, it's a gift and a curse, because that does prevent me from being a very good liar, but I don't think and edit before I say it. So if I got a joke and I just say it, I'm just saying it, and I didn't think, before I say this, let me make sure.
Well,
yeah. And I'm not.
Heart right there. Like,
yeah, I'm just a talker. Like, if I'm thinking it, I'll say it. And I've heard a lot of people's feelings like that. And that's something, as I've gotten older, I try to not change, but I try to bring it down, because I understand the climate that we're in. It's a very sensitive climate right now. So I know I can't just be out here just saying whatever I want to and everybody being cool with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm cool with you saying whatever you want to me. So therefore, and I had to stop thinking that people think and move like me. Because you can say whatever to me and I'm fine with it. So then in turn, to be honest, I feel like I can say whatever to you and you should be fine. But I realized that I'm being real. So, but I had to realize that people aren't, everybody not like me. People will say what they want to say, but they aren't able to take it back. Like if you say something to them, they can't take it, but they're willing to say it. So I had to navigate through, okay, be in this public setting. I'm cool if this person cracked this joke about my slew feet. But if I crack a joke about they belly hanging over their pants, that's gonna hurt their feelings because they're cool with cracking the joke, but they're not cool with taking it. I'm cool with cracking it and taking it.
Yeah.
Not just that, but to your point, it's like what's below the belt for one person ain't below the belt for someone else. Everybody's, inclination to deal with jokes and stuff is different. You know, there's the innocence from, to use the point for Lucy, there's the innocence of the guy not knowing or having knowledge privy to him of what's going on with Lucy and making a joke that was, in his head lighthearted, didn't mean much. But there's also the aspect that Lucy has to actually know her life because she's living her life and knowing how that actually makes her feel. So it's to the point that you're trying to make, and I get where you're coming from. It's like what matters more in this situation, a person's knowledge of your afflictions or the person's afflictions. When it wasn't meant to be harmful, it was meant as pure harmless form of fun. But you know, we live in a world today again where everybody has different perceived levels of sensitivity. So you could say, like, y'all can say whatever y'all want around me. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I
You
don't.
don't.
I really don't. I don't. I sleep well at night. I don't care. We can talk about anything and everything. So even if I'm at work, we can talk about anything and everything. Uncomfortable stuff. I'm with it. I open all conversations. I'm welcome to conversations about anything. But I also understand that not everybody is built like me. Not everybody's processing of things is the same. So there are certain things that I could sit there and in my head I have to think like, okay, just because for me this is innocent does not mean that this is harmful for someone else. So I might need to word it a different way if I'm going to play with it or make a joke about it, or if I think it might actually get a different kind of response based on me actually getting to know the people I'm around, I may not tell it anyway. Just to understand this is the workplace and that workplace morale matters. So it depends on how you deal with things, but understanding who you work with, relationships and things, that varies from person to person. Do I expect everybody to know that about me? No. But if you come up and talk to me, you'd be like, Joey, cool as shit. You literally talk to him about anything. And I do have people that come up there and tell me about all kinds of stuff, even stuff I don't need to know, TMI. But people understand after a while that, hey, I'm approachable. We can talk, we can shoot shit about anything, and that's cool. So it's to the point of emotional intelligence. I think just personnel intelligence too, when we're talking about being on a job and learning who you're working with and who you're dealing with, your employees or the people you work with matters just as much, if not more so.
So now I feel like we got the actual definition of accountability. Everybody's kind of giving their spin on it of what they think of it and how it's used.